They put everything to shame and only Siskel and Ebert to blame. Please welcome the Video Store Guy.
Come into the Weekly Critic, the Video Store Guys. All right, it is that time of year. We're getting into the Santa Clauses. These Santa Clauses. The first one is
with an E at the end. Santa Claus, because it's a legal joke, and it was lost on me when I was a kid in 1994.
Okay. So I'm walking up to your store, the Santa Claus, putting it at the register. What do you tell me?
Like, hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing.
I got a movie for you, and I know you're might want to say no at first. So it's basically about a guy who's getting divorced, who's just trying to get custody of his kid, but he's a workaholic. What do you think at first?
I've seen enough of the divorce to make a statement movies.
Yeah, okay. That would be one thing if it was just like an India drama, but except he's Santa Claus.
Bring it.
Bring it. There we go. That's pretty much all it is. It's a family drama. It's with some magic mixed in, when Disney still had magic.
So the box, when a man inadvertently makes Santa fall off his roof on Christmas, he finds himself magically recruited to take his place. And Mr. Tim Allen has Eric Lloyd, a young Eric Lloyd, Judge Reinhold, Wendy Crewson, and everyone's favorite, a Mr. Peter Boyle. I gave this one an 8 of 10. IMDb was a 6.5 out of 10. Metascore was a 57, and Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 73%. So I was a little higher above Rotten Tomatoes. There's a few times throughout the movie where the elves are looking at the camera, and once again, that bugs me. So,
I don't. I'm struggling too, because I want to give it a 9. I want to be up there with Home Alone, but I think 8.5 is right. It's right there. I think because mostly, like I said before, Disney movie magic. There's a little bit of, there's charm, there's childlike wonder. Obviously, child actors, it's hard to like. Home Alone is pretty much the standard, right? We have Macaulay Culkin is just a actually joy to watch and stands alone and holds the whole movie up until Joe Pesci comes in, but. These kids, like you said, the elves, some of the background elves are just kind of like, what's going on?
yeah,
but I think the girl that brings him Coco is really good. And David Krumholtz, I've loved him in everything, even when he was younger. He's always seemed to have like a gravitas to him, and him as Bernard as the head elf, just drives the dry humor, like almost brings this like hilarious New York like Jewish lawyer to the role. And it's so hilarious because he's just like, yeah, it's the Santa Claus, whatever. Come on. He's like dismisses everything, all the questions. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Hey, it is what it is. What are you gonna do? And
I do like Elf Judy. Elf Judy is Paige Tamada. Tamada. Paige Tamada. There's no end in there. I love when she says, and he's like sitting there with the hot cocoa. He's like, man, this is good. She's like, yeah, it's my own recipe. He's like, no, this is good. She's like, listen, I'm dating somebody. He's like,
yeah, that's so there's exactly like, so there's adult humor, and then there's all of the funny like physical gags. Tim Allen, honestly, probably at the height of his career, coming off of Home Improvement. Honestly, his film career didn't do too much, and I think that's why he keeps revisiting this, especially now. With the miniseries, don't worry, we're going to get into it in a different episode. But goodness gracious,
get into it.
But he was great on TV. I loved him in Big Trouble, even though it's an ensemble screwball comedy that kind of flew under the radar. Jungle to Jungle, big one in my childhood as well. Absolutely loved it. But the Santa Claus, that's what he's like remembered for, and even more so than Home Improvement now. And I don't fault him. He does such a great job. He walks the line of being sarcastic, but also nice and joyful, and doesn't ruin Santa. Does that make sense? Like he doesn't ruin, he adds to the legend of Santa.
Not like he was trying to ruin Christmas and Christmas with the Cranks. He was trying to ruin Christmas. This is a completely different perspective of his character. He nailed it. He nails it in all three. The Santa Clauses And we will get into it. The mini series is a completely different gaggle. So, but yeah,
I really like the. Actually, I just watched Christmas with the Cranks again, and he was absolutely yoked in that movie. You see him like that because they like him and Jamie Lee Curtis both have that scene where in the tanning salon, and he's just absolutely ripped. And Jamie Lee Curtis, got to say, for her age, goodness gracious.
Back before she became political, and everything was political to her, she was a hottie.
Hey, the personal is political, and that's what they push, and that's why we're talking about movies you can go see with your family, with your kids, that aren't going to indoctrinate your kids, that aren't going to ruin Christmas for you. This is one of those movies. Highly recommend. Terp's giving it an 8. I'm giving it an 8.5. I don't know why Rotten Tomatoes they have it so low. It's almost like every 90s movie, they've like retroactively lowered it, and as if to say, oh, with a new lens that we're looking through, this isn't good. Dude, the production is great. They have actually cutting edge CGI at the time. That one scene they showed in the trailer, they show it in every single trailer you see for them is when he's in the mirror and he's clean shaven with the Grecian 5 in his hair, and it all grows back to Santa, and he goes, like that effect is a little bit lessened in the two sequels, and are kind of a little bit the scope is not right. But in this movie, you could tell they spent a lot of time compositing that, and I'm not going to say it holds up today as if it was Star Wars or something, but it was an achievement for its time. It looks great, and it kind of adds to the magic of Santa.
Oh yeah, completely. I enjoyed this one. I really did. And just like you, I mean, you nailed it. That it has everything, right? It has. It's not perfect. It's not the whole. Everything is perfect type movie. It has a little bit of. You feel bad for the guy because he's going to work. He's trying to balance work and everything that is work, and he's gaining all this weight. And he's like, oh yeah. I got stung by a bee, and they're at the
he's just eating cookies.
He's like, yeah, can I get I want this and I want that. I want 3 desserts and a cookie with a big huge glass of milk. Yeah, and they're like, bee sting, huh? He's like, shut up. Peter Boyle, like, we got to take this outside, man. You got to get your shit together.
So the synopsis of the movie is basically. He gets his son for Christmas. His ex-wife and her new husband have been telling their son that Santa doesn't exist because he's a psychologist. Now, I love this premise because Judge Reinhold's character is Dr. Can't remember his name, but Dr. Neil, right?
Neil Miller.
And he's trying to take like the Dr. Spock, like be rational with the child, treat them as a peer, as an equal, get on their level. He literally does get down on Charlie's level to talk to him several times in the movie. And it mocks that, new agey type of way because we know it doesn't work. And every study that has ever been done on children shows that doesn't work. Children need authority. They learn from example. They watch you. And if you are doing, they mimic you. And if you tell them, hey, I can do this, but you can't, they don't like it and they get upset. But then they go, okay, well, he's bigger than me. So that's the whole point. Yeah. So his dad is trying to be like, no, of course there's Santa. It's like, what? I can't remember what Chesterton said about innocence. He's like, but why should we thrust our youth into adulthood? So, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, please, but basically let kids be kids. Mm-hmm. Let them have their fantasies. Let them have their, to an extent, in the context of Santa Claus, it's okay to let them believe in Santa Claus. Okay. So he's trying to convince his son. His son tells him, okay, just leave the cookies out. He leaves the cookies out. He hears the clatter on the roof. Santa falls off when Tim Allen goes to investigate, and he gives him the old bye-bye with the mittens. He goes, put on the suit. The reindeer will know what to do. And they have a magical evening giving presents. It's fumbling Tim Allen at his best. And then they take him to the North Pole where he realizes that upon taking the card, there is a clause with an E at the end that says you must now be Santa Claus. And the whole rest of the movie, this is all like really quick. It's like 30 minutes of the movie. So the whole second act of the movie is him gaining weight. Kids know he's Santa at the soccer game and sitting on his lap. And the parents are like, this is unhealthy. You can't do this. Our son thinks you're Santa Claus. So the subtext there is basically, it's like, we don't we don't like what your parenting style. We're going to take your kid away from you. It's like actually very sobering and kind of real stuff here. I went through this kind of stuff when I was a kid, so I very much related to it. And it's just a really heartwarming movie, how everybody comes together in the end. They just learn to accept Santa Claus for who he is, and the family moves on. I love it.
Yeah, it is a gem. It's one of those Home Alone, when you want to get off Home Alone, because you're going to watch Home Alone, 15 to 20 times between the week of Thanksgiving and Christmas, especially if you have children, and this is one you throw in to just change the vibe a little bit. Another part that I like, I'm glad that they put in, Tim Allen's walking down the street and he's he's checking his list twice. He's like a guy walks by with like all grungy, his tattoos and piercings. He's like, Albert, he's naughty. And a little girl drives by on her bike. He's like, oh, Samantha, oh, she's nice. And then a very beautiful young lady walks by with her with like a short skirt. He's like, oh, Samantha. He's like, oh, nice. She's like, think again, pervert.
Very nice.
Oh, very nice.
Dude, the adult. That's what I love about Tim Allen's humor is his mainstream stuff. Obviously not his early stand-up, but all his mainstream stuff is like it's a little bit adult, but it's like a nod and a wink. You can still have your kids around it, and honestly, that's what's propelled him to such success later in life. It's just he is a family-friendly comedian, but you still get belly laughs from the stuff that he does.
Absolutely, yeah. He always finds a way to nail it, man. He always does.
Any final thoughts on the Santa Claus number 1?
Number 1, I completely support 8.0. I think Rotten Tomatoes was a little harsh, but yeah, it's a must see every year. Even throughout the year, throw it in just for nostalgic value. It's a good one.
Anything you didn't like about it specifically?
I didn't like how they're trying to make it a little bit too real for a Christmas Story. They're trying really hard to slam Santa. That part was like, man, they're just trying too hard to ruin this guy's life. Even how real it is. I don't think they really had to go there. Like the scene where Santa is sitting in the judge's office and the judge just told him they can't have the kid, that they given full custody to the mom and Neil, and he's watching him walk down the lawyer's office, and his son's looking over his shoulder like, Dad, and he's like, man, that part, man, it's just a Christmas movie. Do we have to get that deep? And you had to really pull the heartstrings that much. That's the part I didn't like. But
okay, so you think that it was and the balancing act was a little off. Like, yeah, there's some zany, jolly humor, but maybe they tried to make it a little too dark to balance it, and it wasn't warranted.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that. I mean, I think that the underlying divorce drama was kind of realistic enough, especially for the 90s.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. I think it's a good take on it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. How about you, man? What sticks out most to you?
Sticks out most? Bernard. Bernard is the best. And I know that they brought him back they made some contrivance to bring him back, but even he probably couldn't have saved the miniseries, which I haven't watched yet. But Bernard is just
bad.
He's just funny enough, and he's just New Yorky enough to bring that he ties it all together, because as an audience member, we are supposed to be in Scott Calvin's shoes and the shoes of his son. Those are the driving forces of the movie. They're the ones that their character arcs are the ones taking us around. Bernard, as a supporting character, doesn't necessarily have an arc. The assistant doesn't have an arc. He is there. He's the foundation. He's there to be an expository mechanism. And what he does is he gives you that exposition, but he does it in such an entertaining way. Because you could say, if you had done this job for 1,000 years and you've been through 10, 15, 20,000 Santas, you've been through so many Santas. At this point, he's like a construction worker telling the new guy like how to frame a window. You know what I mean? He's like, guy, if I can do this, put it over here. You got to do this. Yeah. And I think that's what stands out the most to me, and that's why he came back for the second one. Unfortunately, I don't think that one, he was too old, and two, they knew he wasn't going to sign on for a third one, if at all. But yeah, they brought him back for the series. And you watched it. Would you say that they used him well? I know, not to jump ahead, but
No.
Oh God.
Nope.
It makes me not want to watch it even more now.
Well, and we'll cover that in the review.
All right. Okay.
So,
Goodness gracious.
it wasn't worth it. But yeah, man, it was a good one.
Guys, thanks for taking the ride with us. This is part 1 of 4 of the Santa Claus series, the Video Store Guys and the weekly recap, weekly critic, excuse me. And make sure you like, subscribe, comment. We read the comments. We'll let you, if you have a question for us or if you have a suggestion for us to do in the future, we will get to it. And just share this out with one of your normie friends so that we can grow the channel.
Boom. And happy Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.